Howdy, partners, and welcome to the very first Cowboys Versus Ninjas podcast. I'm your host, Adrian, and with me today is Julia. She's an expert in all things wild and wonderful.
Howdy, Adrian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, folks, on this show, we're going to wrangle those stories. You know, those moments where worlds collide, sparks fly, and the unexpected becomes legendary. Get ready, because today we're taking Don Quixote, the knight errant of classic literature, and we're dropping him right into the heart of the Wild West.
It's a fascinating concept, Adrian. The clash of these two worlds, the chivalrous ideal of Don Quixote and the gritty realism of the American frontier.
So picture this, a sun-baked frontier town.
Yeah.
You get saloons slinging whiskey cowboys strutting with their six-shooters. And into this scene rides a scrawny old fella on a bony nag looking like he stepped straight out of a storybook. It's Don Quixote, folks, still convinced he's a knight errant, bless his heart. Even though the only dragons he's likely to find are Gila monsters and rattlesnakes.
Don Quixote, the iconic character from Miguel de Cervantes' masterpiece. He's so consumed by tales of chivalry that he sees the world through a very unique lens. Windmills become giants, ordinary folks become damsels in distress, and every challenge is a call to heroic action.
And the Wild West ain't exactly known for its courtly manners. So when Don Quixote starts spouting off about chivalry and quests, most folks just figure he's had a little too much sun. But not everyone. Enter Ezekiel Zeke Badson, an orphan who's tougher than a $10 steak and twice as skeptical.
Zeke's our grounded counterpoint to Quixote's flights of fancy. He's seen the harsh realities of frontier life, and he's not about to be swayed by some old man's delusions.
But fate, or maybe just plain bad luck, throws these two together. Quixote, mistaking Zeke for his trusty squire, Sancho Panza, convinces him to join his adventures.
And that's where the real fun begins. This unlikely duo, the hopeless idealist and the cynical realist. It's a recipe for both comedy and some surprisingly poignant moments.
Oh, you better believe it, folks. Misadventures galore. Picture Don Quixote lance in hand charging at windmills, convinced they're giants terrorizing the countryside. Zeke, meanwhile, is dodging windmill blades and trying to explain basic physics to a guy who thinks he's living in a medieval romance.
But amidst the absurdity, there are glimpses of Quixote's genuine desire to do good. He truly believes he's fighting for justice, even if his perception of reality is a bit skewed.
And Zeke, despite his initial skepticism, starts to get drawn into the chaos. He sees how Quixote's actions, however misguided, sometimes have unintended consequences, like when they rescue a saloon girl from a rowdy bunch of cowboys.
That rescue is a perfect example of Quixote's warped worldview colliding with the Wild West. He sees a damsel in distress, while Zeke sees a woman who can probably handle herself just fine. But Quixote's intervention, however clumsy, does teach those cowboys a lesson about respect.
You got that right, Julia. Even in his delusions, Quixote stumbles into doing the right thing, much to Zeke's surprise. And speaking of stumbling into the right thing, our next tale takes us to cattle country, where rustlers are running rampant, and a desperate rancher needs a miracle, or maybe just a slightly unhinged knight-errant.
This rancher has heard tales of the knight and his squire, and in his desperation he sees them as his last hope.
Zeke knows they're in over their heads. These rustlers ain't playing patty cake, but Quixote, bless his heart, sees a chance to right a wrong, to restore order to a chaotic world.
What unfolds is a hilarious yet oddly effective cattle drive rescue operation. Quixote charging at the rustlers with his lance creates enough confusion for Zeke to use his street smarts and wrangle the stolen herd back to the rightful owner.
It's a sight to behold, folks. Cowboys scratching their heads, wondering if they've wandered into a dime novel come to life. But the cattle are returned, and the rustlers hightail it out of there faster than a jackrabbit on a hot date.
This episode highlights a key theme that runs through many interpretations of Don Quixote, the idea that sometimes a little bit of unconventional thinking, even perceived madness, can lead to real-world results.
Sometimes you gotta shake things up, challenge the status quo, even if it means looking a little foolish. But hold on to your hats, folks, because things are about to get real serious. Our next chapter takes us to a showdown that'll have you biting your fingernails. Word of Quixote's heroics has reached the ears of the baddest hombre in the territory, a ruthless outlaw known only as El Diablo.
El Diablo is the embodiment of everything Quixote believes he must fight against: cruelty, injustice, and the raw brutality of the Wild West.
This ain't no windmill, folks. El Diablo is the real deal. A force of nature that's left a trail of broken hearts and shattered dreams across the land.
And for Zeke, this confrontation triggers a deeply personal memory. We learn that his own family was victimized by El Diablo, adding another layer of complexity to his relationship with Quixote.
Zeke has always been the voice of reason, the one trying to keep Quixote grounded in reality. But now he's face to face with the monster who haunted his childhood, and he sees in Quixote's unwavering determination a chance for a kind of justice he never thought possible.
Picture this: the dusty main street of a frontier town. The sun beaten down mercilessly, and two figures standing face to face. On one side, El Diablo, cold-eyed and menacing his hand hovering over his six-shooter. On the other, Don Quixote, clad in rusted armor, his lance at the ready, looking more like a scarecrow than a knight. And between them, Zeke, caught in the crossfire of his own past and present, colliding in a moment of truth.
The tension is thicker than a bowl of chili, folks. You can hear a pin drop as these two worlds, these two ways of life prepare to clash. And then it begins. The duel is a chaotic mix of Quixote's delusional bravery, Zeke's quick thinking, and a whole lot of luck.
It's a scene that defies description, Adrian. Quixote spouting chivalric oaths that El Diablo doesn't understand charges with his lance. Zeke, meanwhile, uses every dirty trick he knows to keep the outlaw off balance.
And just when it seems like all hope is lost, like our heroes are about to meet their maker, fate intervenes. The townsfolk, inspired by Quixote's unlikely stand against tyranny, have rallied behind the sheriff, and they arrive just in the nick of time to tip the scales.
It's a classic Wild West showdown, folks. Bullets fly horses' rear, and the dust settles to reveal justice has prevailed.
El Diablo is apprehended, the town breathes a collective sigh of relief, and Don Quixote, battered but unbowed, is hailed as a hero, which I gotta say is pretty surprising considering how this whole thing started.
It really is. It speaks to one of the key themes that emerges from all of these sources, the idea that even misguided actions can have positive consequences. We see this with Quixote constantly. He's always operating from a place of delusion, but somehow things often work out in the end.
And it's not just dumb luck. Remember what Dr. Brown wrote in his paper on social change. He argued that sometimes disrupting the status quo, even in seemingly irrational ways, can force people to reevaluate their assumptions and create openings for new ideas and solutions.
Exactly, and you see that play out here. Quixote's actions, however absurd, challenge the complacency of the townspeople. They're forced to confront the reality of El Diablo's tyranny and to take action.
And then there's Zeke.
Yeah.
His transformation is pretty remarkable. He starts out as this cynical kid, hardened by the harsh realities of the Wild West, but through his interactions with Quixote, he starts to see the world differently.
Remember that scene in the saloon where Zeke tells Quixote, "You may be crazy old man, but you're the only one who actually tries to do something about the things that are wrong"? That's a huge shift for him. He's starting to see the value in Quixote's idealism, even if he doesn't fully understand it.
It's a reminder that sometimes we need to look beyond the surface, beyond the apparent madness, to see the underlying values and motivations, and maybe allow ourselves to be a little bit inspired by that, even if it makes us uncomfortable.
That's a great takeaway from this exploration of the sources. These sources taken together present a compelling argument for the power of idealism, even in the face of cynicism and despair.
And they leave you with a lot to think about. What are the windmills in your own life? What are the things you see as wrong or unjust? And are you willing to be a little bit crazy to try and change them?
That's a question worth pondering.
Well, that brings us to the end of our look at Don Quixote and the Wild West. We hope you found it insightful, maybe even a little bit inspiring. Until next time, happy trails. And remember,
Welcome to this new show where we will cover everyday and addictive stories, all in a fun, epic way with masterful storytelling that keeps the listener craving for more tales of samurai and gunslingers adventure rate, and follow for more Cowboys Versus Ninjas episodes.
and as the dust settles, we see Zeke riding off into the sunset, a little wiser, a little more hopeful, and maybe carrying a bit of Don Quixote's spirit with him.
It's a powerful image. It suggests that we all need a little bit of that Don Quixote spirit, that willingness to fight for what we believe in, even if it means looking a little foolish.
And that, folks, is the legacy of Don Quixote in the Wild West. A reminder that sometimes the greatest heroes aren't the ones who wear shiny armor or ride the fastest horses, but the ones who dare to dream, to believe in a better world, even when the world around them seems determined to prove them wrong.
And it leaves us with a question to ponder. What if the real giants we face aren't literal monsters, but the forces of injustice, apathy, and cynicism that plague our own times? Maybe we all need a little bit of Don Quixote's madness to face those challenges head on.
Well said. That brings us to the end of our Wild West adventure with Don Quixote. We hope you enjoyed the ride, folks, and remember, even in the grittiest, most unforgiving landscapes, there's always room for a little bit of chivalry,
Yeah.
a little bit of hope, and maybe a little bit crazy. Until next time, keep your spurs shined, your six-shooters loaded, and your hearts open to the possibility of adventure. And for more tales of samurai and gunslingers, adventure rate and follow for more Cowboys versus Ninjas episodes.
Happy trails, everyone!